Hi, this is PMC Knives and Tools, and today we're looking at the K-Bar Dozier lockback folding knife. This is one that I've been wanting for a while. I saw a deal on it recently online and thought I'll take the plunge and buy that one. It took a couple of weeks to arrive from abroad. It's a Dozier design on behalf of K-Bar Knives, and it's made in China. Now, it's your classic mid-lockback design. We've all seen dozens upon dozens of similar examples. I would say it's a competitor with things like the Spyderco Delica and that sort of style. I do have some examples here for comparison. Let's see. Right, so comparison knives. Here's the Cold Steel Verdict. Quite a similar knife, one that I'm very fond of. Here's the Benchmade Bug Out. Not necessarily identical, but and a lot more expensive, a hell of a lot more expensive, but similar in style and function. And in lieu of a Spyderco Delica, here's a Ganzo Firebird, which is the same thing, just a Chinese copy of it. So those are some comparative examples to the K-Bar Dozier. There you go. All very similar. All similar in size, all similar in style, with the exception of the Bug Out maybe that doesn't have the mid-lock back. It's got the axis lock action. So I'll move these. I reviewed this Cold Steel Verdict recently. Love it. Great knife. Really like that one. And I reviewed this Ganzo not too long ago as well. That's a nice Delica copy as well. So I'll move those out of the way, and we'll focus in on the K-Bar Dozier. So you've seen there, it's in the style of those other classic locking 3-inch folding EDC type knives. So a 3-inch blade, high hollow grind, right-handed thumb stud. You can reverse it with a Torx driver. You could pop it over to the left-hand side if you really wanted to. And that's the same with the pocket clip. So the pocket clip is secured with one screw. You could take that off and swap it to that side if you wanted to. It's a tip-up carry only, left or right-handed, depending on which way you swap it. Ambidextrous mid-back lock and a lanyard hole. The scales are plastic. You know, you might want to call them fiberglass reinforced nylon or whatever you want to call it, but it's plastic. Whether people call it G10 or not, it's plastic. With a grippy texture and that K-bar detail there. The pocket clip is a sort of basic spoon style, quite thin metal, but quite stiff, and does its job, holds it in pretty well. It's not deep carry. It holds it to the jeans pretty tightly. That's something that I'll probably work on. It'll maybe loosen up a bit with use. The mechanism was pretty stiff when I first got this. I've only had it out the box for about a week now, so I've been breaking it in, and it's now at the point where it will flick deploy and one hand drop. So that's an advantage. It didn't have that when I first opened it. It was nice and stiff from the packet. So there you go. Nice easy flick deploy. In terms of performance, I've not had to sharpen it yet, but admittedly I've not done any heavy cutting tasks with it. Very, very light cutting tasks only. Oh, try and get a good angle here because I'm going cross grain. There we go. So slice is lovely when you get the angle right. The blade steel is quite thick for an EDC knife. It's much thicker than something like the Spyderco Delica spine or the Benchmade Bug Out spine. It's more in line with the thickness of the Cold Steel Verdict spine, or maybe even a better example would be the Benchmade 940. Now I admit that this is a vastly different price bracket than a Benchmade 940. This is about £200 cheaper. I'm just using that as an illustrative example of the thickness of the blade spine. It's quite a thick steel stock that they've used. Fits really well in the hand, very comfortable, no hot spots. With a design that's this simple and this basic, this is probably one of my favourite folding knives at the minute. The cold steel Verdict that I showed you a moment ago is probably the other one that I like most at the moment of this kind of style of mid-walk back folding knife. Both are very simple. The K-bar doesn't even have these finger grooves, like the cold steel has. They're very, very similar grinds, high hollow grind, albeit there's a swedge on the Verdict, and there's a different shape of tip. It's more of a spear point on the K-bar and a drop point on the cold steel. But they're both very, very similar in terms of price point and performance. And feel in the hand, really, lightness. They're both pretty lightweight. The K-bar is definitely heavier at the blade than at the handle. The cold steel, slightly heavier at the blade, but because of the triad lock being a bit more substantial than a classic lockback, it's not as noticeably heavier at the front. But they're both pretty well balanced, they're both pretty light. Both very, very similar layouts. Both feel good in the hand, both cut well, and both affordable. So they're in about the £60 price range. So they're both a daily user EDC type knife. I have to say, although it's quite a basic style, and some might say a dated style, it's one that I really like. I don't really go in too much for the super modern, super cool, super steel, super expensive, super high end stuff. It's just not me as a person. I like to buy things that I can afford and buy things that I don't feel guilty about using. A classic example of that was the very expensive custom made Swiss Army knife that I had done, a Spider Co Victorinox custom crossover with titanium scales and all this kind of stuff. And when I use it, I do feel a bit worried about damaging it because it was so expensive. It was about £300. So for a £60 lockback, this is what I like. I like a classic, simple, easy to use, no muss, no fuss design. Something reliable, something simple, something that I can use and abuse without too much concern. I can easily resharpen the steel because it's not, Maximate or Magna Cut. It's not something that's going to take a lot of effort to put a new edge on, or to just hone the edge that's on it. I can just rub it on a leather strop or a kitchen butcher steel and go back to work. And you can't fail with this design. It's too simple to mess up. It's a classic, simple, easy design. So if you're looking for a knife for your first pocket knife, or just a reliable daily carry that you can take to work and cut a lot of boxes and, crappy stuff that you can use and abuse and love and not worry about, this is the kind of thing to go for. It might be similar in size and style to the Delica or the Bug Out, but it's going to be a heck of a lot cheaper, and therefore you're probably going to use it more. So this is one that I really like just now. The K-bar Dozier design. Absolutely loving it. So have a good look, have a good day, take care.